tomorrow marks 4 weeks till the auction.
Ooh-wee.
Time
to the
is
day, Thursday.
Ooh-wee.
the day. And there was a comment earlier, first of all, from JJ, who said, just can't believe the only way to get the NHL back to Phoenix is through Meruelo. PD, I'm going to throw it to you because I know you wanted to talk about this notion that, you know, with the auction 4 weeks away, this is obviously the huge date that's circled on everyone's calendars in the Arizona professional hockey world. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there was a lot of comments both in our Discord and publicly that the fastest way to get hockey back in the NHL is Alex Meruelo Sr. I'm not convinced of that. I'm just not. I still believe, first, I believe there's going to be NHL hockey back in Arizona, period. I do. I really believe it's going to happen. I'm not confident that Alex Meruelo Sr. can get this thing done quickly. I think there's so many hurdles, as we're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. This is a good hockey market. There's money, and people are interested in spending that money here in Arizona. I think there are people that want to see hockey back here in the Valley. I'm not necessarily saying if it's not Meruelo, it's not back within 5 to 7 years. I'm just not putting my eggs in the Meruelo basket. I think there are other options, and I don't specifically, other than rumored and people I've talked to that have rumors of opportunities that are out there financially, there are rumored to be other people interested in buying this team and this franchise and may have the political wherewithal to get it done faster.
Yeah.
And that's the concern, because we're going to talk about some of these hurdles. I am not convinced that it's Meruelo or nothing. I'm just not.
Neither am I. And I do think there are considerable hurdles. People think, oh, if he wins the land auction, then
and I think that's the other. I think there's two narratives that exist right now. The one that we just talked about, Meruelo is the only or fastest way to get the Coyotes back in Arizona. That's one, and the other is winning the land auction is a shoo-in to this process going smoothly, the 5-year plan happening exactly as laid out, and everything just being kumbaya from that point. And that's not necessarily true. So let's throw it to that, because Craig has been doing reporting, and this is the segment of the podcast, the PHNX Land and Zoning podcast. So everybody get ready. Oh my goodness, Danielle. Welcome to PHNX Land Development. Woo! All right.
That's great.
We'll talk playoff hockey later.
He want a SpongeBob with red in his eyes too, because that's how
really
I feel
good.
sometimes.
That's amazing, Danielle. Thank you.
Fantastic.
If you're listening on audio, you're missing
So
out.
I asked the city of Phoenix a few questions, and you know, like you said, there's the assumption Alex Meruelo wins the land auction and it's full steam ahead. Okay. First of all, we don't know who else is going to show up at the land auction. Let's wait and see on that. I hear a lot of rumors. There are a lot of rumors being thrown out there that, this could go up to $150 million. Who the hell knows until people show up? Yeah, that's just speculation at this point. But I did ask the city of Phoenix a few questions. I asked, so here's my question. Are you okay with me reading this?
Yeah, just go for it.
I'm boring the hell out of you guys. The Coyotes are under the impression that the State Trust site is already zoned for an arena because it has the same zoning designation as the site of the proposed Legacy Sports project that was supposed to house a multi-sheet, arena for kids for men's hockey. However, AZ Central reported that earlier this spring that the zoning is open to interpretation. So I asked for clarity on this discrepancy and how it'll be resolved. Here's what the City of Phoenix spokesperson said to me. A sports arena is not specifically listed as a permitted use in the C2 zoning district. C2 is the zoning designation that the Legacy Sports Project has, and this site also has. So it's not specifically listed as a permitted use. A property owner could request an interpretation of the zoning so that a specific argument and evaluation can be completed by staff. Only a property owner can request a site-specific interpretation, which means he has to win the land auction before he can even ask this question. And staff has told the Coyotes that we would process an interpretation request, but there is no guarantee that an interpretation would allow the sports arena. Staff has verbally told the Coyotes that the most analogous use is a stadium type of facility for large public gatherings, and that requires a special permit to be approved by the mayor and city council through a rezoning process.
The mayor?
not another city council.
The other option would be to rezone the site to an appropriate zoning district that allows for the arena use like a special permit for the portion of the land that would comprise the sports arena. The Legacy Sports Project is a 3,000-seat facility for ice hockey and volleyball practice facilities, much like soccer sports complexes, and it's very different than a 17,000-seat sport and entertainment venue. So I had follow-up questions. Does the special permit to be approved by the mayor and city council through a rezoning process require any sort of referendum or public input? RA zoning request is subject to state law provisions on referendums, is what I was told. Okay, and then what would be the process for rezoning under the second option, the other one that I laid out when they said you could rezone it to an appropriate zoning district? The rezoning process is outlined on page 2 of the rezoning packet on the City of Phoenix website.
The rezoning packet's 56 pages, by the way.
And if you go there and read it, first of all, it's legalese, and you come away, and I even asked attorneys to interpret it for me, and they still don't know whether this means it will definitely go to a referendum, if it could possibly go to a referendum, or if the city council could make the decision, rezone it without a referendum. So I'm awaiting response again on a follow-up question from the City of Phoenix. Just tell me, does this mean it will definitely go to referendum, could go to referendum, or will not go to referendum? At any rate, you see that there are further complications. This is not necessarily zoned for an arena. The Coyotes assumed it was. The City of Phoenix is saying, hold on a minute, we have to decide that. So that's not set in stone either. And then we go back to the expertly crafted statement that I got from Kate Gallego's spokesperson saying, listen, we love the idea of hockey. Yes. We believe it can work. We had a very productive meeting, but hey, you're not getting any tax abatements from the city. We're not supporting any of that, which means no theme park district. I'm not sure about the district either. It does not sound like Kate Gallego wants to give them any tax incentives. And finally, we go back, although I don't get the sense that Matt Ishbia is opposed to it as Robert Sarver was. There's that agreement that the City of Phoenix can't help another arena when footprint exists, when the Suns are there. So all of that is potential baggage that could slow this process. You talk about the fastest way to get an NHL team back. It might be that Alex loses the auction and someone else can step in right away. But I don't know if Alex Meruelo will even step out of the picture then, because he really has basically 3 years to get something else done. Could he go back to the Mesa site, which would absolutely have to go to a referendum, I was told this morning. So that's a problem. Would he try the other site? We don't even know the location of the other site where they have a letter of intent. Would he drag this out for 3 years before finally stepping out of the picture and allowing another group?
See, that brings up the point, Craig, is when we're talking about dragging this out, there are people I've spoken with that believe he is going to drag this out as long as he possibly can, because one, he just got a check for $1 billion, whatever he actually made cleared from it, which we don't know and is subject to, but he's got money.
Yeah.
And there are people telling me that he is going to use that money to drag this thing out because he still believes he is the savior to hockey here in Arizona. What the concerns that you just laid out to me, you've got so many. He can't even check the zoning and get a clarification on the zoning until he buys the land.
Yep.
So you're going to buy the car before you find out what the warranty to the car is, or even if the car has an engine. I don't think you buy the car first. So the huge concern. And then you might or may not need the help of the city council and or the mayor, which right now looks tenuous at best.
Right. We don't know the machinations that are going on behind the scenes, right?
Fair.
Politicking. So I don't want to say that we have a clear picture of everything, but this is what's public.
But it's
right
a hurdle.
Now. Yeah.
And we didn't even bring up the other hurdles like community, unions. Like there are other voices that are going to come up in this.
NIMBYs. Yeah.
NIMBYs. So there are going to be other voices.
There is a public portion of this. If you go to page 2 of that packet, there is a public hearing.
Packet's in the chat if anyone wants to read it.
Citizens get to voice their concerns and get active. So yeah, that could be a concern. Now, I don't think the Scottsdale mayor has anything to say about it, even though he shot off his mouth recently.
Yes.
But a lot of citizens in the area could have something to say about it. And you're right, the same union that was a thorn in their side in Tempe could rear its head again if this gets public.
So again, it goes back to the core of the problem. Does Alex Meruelo Sr. not just have the financial wherewithal, but the business acumen, meaning relationship with the business community, the political community, the community itself of residents? Does he have those relationships that are strong enough to get this deal through to the finish line? And those are so many questions that I just don't think have been answered to this point, or can possibly be answered. Is this going to end up in a lawsuit in 2.5 years, 3 years, 4 years, and drag
another
and drag?
question I have for you. If they win the land auction, who's handling all those negotiations for the Meruelo group with the arena? Because I don't think it's going to be Javier Gutierrez. No. I think he's gone, all but gone after the land auction.
So is it Junior? Is that Alex Meruelo Jr.?
The guy who just bungled the Roadrunners thing?
Yeah, is he going to negotiate all of these things with high-powered political people and business leaders?
You better find someone who knows what they're doing to fill Javier's seat.
There's concerns, Craig. And that's, again, it goes back to the question we asked 5 minutes ago, is this the quickest way? And that's why I don't think it is. Because I think there are so many hurdles that need to be cleared by Alex Meruelo to build on this particular site with the city of Phoenix, that if another group is eyeing land outside the city of Phoenix, Mesa, perhaps, that things could be different because they wouldn't have the same political opposition that they're going to get from Kekaega and the Phoenix City Council, that you might get a more welcome political response with somebody who knows how to deal with local politicians, has relationships with local politicians and local business leaders that can help get this deal done quicker. And that's why I don't believe that this is the only or the quickest option.
I feel like there needs to be a trigger warning for the words referendum, city council, NIMBYs, and unions on the show.
Exactly.
Like, good Lord.
So the last thing I'll say on it, though, it probably won't be the last thing. I'll probably say a lot more things. If you're Alex Meruelo Sr. and family at all, and you just received money, how much money, whatever, they received money.
A lot.
They got some money.
They do.
Why don't you just take it?
Man, I heard some crazy stuff today about like how much in debt they were, and then calls how much they owed and how much he's actually. I don't want to throw it out there, but
sure.
The number I heard was
less than
shockingly low.
Okay, well, just can they take it and just go? Wouldn't that be quicker? And I guess that's where I'm talking about the speed of this getting NHL hockey back in Arizona. To me, the quickest, cleanest, best option, is Mr. Meruelo goes, thanks everybody. I'm going to take my money. Thank you for letting me be part of this community. I'm out of here.
I want to correct something or clarify something that I said on the last show about referendums. Gary Bettman made it pretty clear in the last process that you can't have any more referendums while the Coyotes were still here. Someone noted to me today that may not be the case now that the Coyotes are already gone, because
urgency.
There's no time frame really. So okay, if you get it past a referendum, fine, we'll pursue it. If you don't,
fine too.
You don't have a team, so it doesn't matter. So and there's also the idea that another group might have better success. You mentioned this before, even in the referendum process, because I don't think anybody's coming along. And this includes the Morelos, by the way, who are not paying for this themselves. They're asking for tax subsidies. They want tax subsidies. So I know we've said, this is privately funded. We said it ourselves, although we did acknowledge that there are some tax abatements. I think they still want those. Anybody who comes along is going to want tax abatements. They're probably not going to float the cost themselves. An arena is just too expensive. And then you talk about the expansion fee in the NHL of $1 billion. I mean, not many people have that money to throw around.
So wait, I want to rewind, because what you just said, and you don't have to give the number by any means, about Morelos possibly being in debt and what they ended up netting was not as much. Okay, so they build the arena. Can they afford the $1 billion expansion fee at that point?
It's a good question.
So that brings up yet another wrinkle.
They don't have the $1 billion, I can tell you that.
Yeah. It's definitely less than $8 billion.
They sank a lot of money into this team. Yeah. They lost a lot of money, which is at least one question that I got answered at that news conference. It was Gary Bettman that answered it.
Lost a lot of money.
And I heard crazy numbers for what they were losing annually. So that's all taken away from this pot, and then whatever other debts were accrued. I don't know. I don't want to throw the number out there,
but again, it goes back to the $1 billion. So
it's not close to $1 billion.
They don't have $1 billion in the bank to pay the $1 billion fee right now. No,
and that's not. No. That's just the fee, not even the building. The building.
But again, there were other assets that Alex Meruelo had lined up to use. I mean, he would have to sell those assets off, but he did have other assets, and Tempe looked at that. Right? Tempe looked at that. Tempe did a pretty thorough vetting process, and they were satisfied. So I don't want to suggest that maybe the financing isn't there for Alex Meruelo. If Tempe got to the point where they were happy with the situation, then I'm guessing that would be able to transfer over. What concerns me more is these other hurdles, and then
yes,
Alex's reputation
in the relationships,
the reputation. But then also, okay, maybe you have the billion, you build the arena, you have the $1 billion to get the team, but you still have to have money to operate a team.
Which was the problem to begin with. Yeah. That's how this whole thing started. He didn't spend the money to the infrastructure, to the team, to the players to make this an NHL facility and an NHL city, and all those things came back to he didn't spend enough money on the team. I don't mean player salaries, I mean stuff. Yeah. And so it comes back to the original problem that created this whole mess in the first place.
And who's coming to work for this franchise? Listen, there are only 32 jobs, GM jobs, coaching jobs. Somebody's going to take the job. You're not getting pick of the litter. You're not. I don't think Bill Armstrong's walking through that door again for this franchise. I don't think you're getting that level of GM candidate with what's being said about this ownership group around the NHL.